I'm Chris Gould. With me is Dan Keeler. We are both part of the foam task force. We travel around the state taking care of the other 17 of these trailers.
So we'll start at the front. You have, what did we figure out yesterday? 2 other trailers in the city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One lives down
South End and one's
One's
uptown.
down at the
New Scotland.
Okay, this is New Scotland, and then one's at. Isn't there one?
South
is there
End.
one down at the port? Yeah. 2 down at that end of the city. A little different than this, different type of foam on there. We'll kind of hit on that as we go through. But the way our trailer's set up, basically, there's a water side and a foam side. Everything. The nice thing about that is that we don't have foam mixing in on the water side of things. Makes cleanup a little bit easier. Water side, this waterizer here is essentially just an empty pipe. There's no check valves, no one-way valves, nothing like that. Wherever you push water into is an inlet. Wherever you take water out of is an outlet for the day. When we started setting up, we were initially trying to hook that 3-inch up to that 2.5-inch quarter-turn ball valve. If that's the way you want to supply the trailer, that's completely acceptable. There's no reason why you couldn't do that. For the setup we wanted today, we wanted to try and run them through the Siamese down in the bottom. Typically, we use the 5-inch Storts connections down at the bottom for our inlets. With that, there's no valves down at the bottom. What that means for you is if you have an incident where when we go over the math, you start talking about the flows you're going to need to get out of the trailer. If you decide that you need to supply this with a 5-inch line to get the flow, or multiple 5-inch lines to get the flow you need out of it, you've got to have a little forward thinking, get both lines hooked up prior to starting operations. If we hook a single 5-inch up to this, start flowing, realize we don't have enough water, we've got to shut everything down, drain the water out of it to make that connection on the 5-inch on the other side. Moving up the waterizer, there's a pressure relief valve on there. Pressure relief valve is set for ballpark 200 and...
About 210, 215, somewhere right around there.
There is a sticker on the front of the waterizer that says 200 psi max. When we start talking about the inline deductors, that 200 psi is our operating pressure, which means when that originally came from the manufacturer, that pressure relief was set at 200. The problems we ran into was at cold weather operations at 200 psi, that relief valve starts chattering, and then we turn the ground underneath it into a skating rink. So we got permission from them to crank that up a little bit. About 220 is where it sits now. Up from there, 2.5-inch quarter-turn ball valves. Standard ball valves when the handle's in line with the pipe, valves open. When it's perpendicular to it, the valves close. Gated Y, again, standard operation. The only difference from the typical gated Y is that the handles are on a swivel. That's just for ease of operation. You'll see when we start trying to open and close it with the inductor here, you've got to be able to flip that handle up out of the way to get it open. Any of those connections, the 5 connections here that are welded to the pipe itself, come off of the waterizer as pipe through. The reason I bring that up when we talk about this gated Y is we can't take this. If you decide you need to move it someplace else for an operation, you can't take that off and hook it into your engine. That's got pipe thread on the back side of that, so you would need an adapter for that. Moving up from there on the water side, there's a pressure gauge right here. It's a custom pressure gauge for this trailer. On the gauge face, there's 2 green shaded areas. One right around 100 psi, it says monitor. The other one right around 200 psi, says eductor. One of the things I like about the way they set this trailer up when they did it was that they tried to make it as easy to remember some of this information as they could. That 100 psi green shaded area is the operating pressure for your monitor. 200 psi green shaded area says eductor is your operating pressure for your inline eductors. Regardless of the size, whether it's a 95 or the 350, they both operate at 200 psi. Up from there, slow close butterfly valve. Reason for that is so that we can operate both the devices down here and the master stream at the same time. So we need 200 psi down here, we only need 100 here. We've got to gate it down somewhere in the middle. To do that, we've got a slow close butterfly valve. It operates via this hand wheel right here. There's a yellow indicator flag on the front. That's just telling you the position of the valve in there. It's not, you're not going to be able to grab a hold of it and turn it and open and close the valve. Got to use a hand wheel. From there, task force tip monsoon monitor. From this point down, the waterizer is capable of flowing 2,000 gallons a minute. What that means for you guys is that if you were to take this tip off and put, like I said, a stack tips on there or something, you would have a remote control 2,000 gallon a minute monitor. And that's perfectly acceptable if you had a large scale incident for the bosses that are here. If you had a large scale incident where you wanted to put a remote control option for 2,000 gallons a minute, you have that option. There's no reason you can't bring this trailer out for that. Electronic controls for the monsoon monitor. There's 6 buttons on this keypad that work. Up, down, left, right, oscillate, and park. If you're interested in setting the oscillate, the directions are right on the side, or we can go over that once we start flowing it. The park button is a big one I want to hit on. What the park button does, it takes that monitor, brings it to its vertical and its horizontal stops, and then stows it facing the front valve on that front tote. Pretty important for you to remember what that does, because there's no safety in it. If you're flowing 1,000 gallons a minute out of that monitor and you hit the park button, it's going to go vertical, horizontal, and then stow itself facing that tote while flowing 1,000 gallons a minute. If you're in charge of operating that and it's moving and you're not pushing any buttons, hit the park button again and it'll stop. Foam side. Start up here because that's where we are. National Foam Gladiator Tri-Flow Nozzle. Tri-Flow because it's capable of flowing at 500, 750, or 1,000 gallons a minute. That is an industrial foam nozzle. Its only purpose is to make really, really good foam. That doesn't mean we can't shoot straight water out of it, but it's designed to make really good bubbles. To set the flows on it, there's a little dial here in the front. Just push it in, spin it around. There's a metal bar, silver metal bar in the center of it. Around the outside edge of that dial are the 3 flows we talked about, 500, 750, and 1,000. You line that silver bar up with the flow that you want. There's a little notch there to lock into place. One of the problems we found with that is that right here at the end, that selectable gallonage section is a really good strainer for rocks, chunks of metal, anything like that. We're pretty sure they get kicked into the hose when we make the connections, throw a 5-inch line on the ground and drag it across, rocks and shit get kicked up in. They'll make it all the way up to right there, and you'll know as soon as you try and change the gallonage that there's a rock in there because you won't be able to move it. Do that to clear that. You just take the tip off, take a knife or something, push the rock back through, it'll fall out. The proportioning device on here, a little weird, not really all that intuitive. The best way to describe it is that there is a 3% side and a 1% side of the dial. On each side of the dial are the 3 flows that we just talked about, that 500, 750, and 1,000. Associated with each flow is a little line, goes out to the edge of the dial. You line that line up with that little silver bead up top to set your proportion. Down below that, the 2 inline eductors. There's a 95 gallon minute eductor and a 350 gallon minute eductor. Both of them operate at 200 psi.
If you forget, it's right on there. Intentional.
Again, when they set this up, they kind of tried to make it so if you don't use this every day, which nobody does, and you forget some of the shit you got to do to set it up, the answers are on there somewhere. To set proportioning on these, you take this ring around the top, spin it, line the number up with the pickup hose. That's a little bit more straightforward than that proportioning device up on the master string. Foam side back here, foam manifold. You've got 2 totes on your trailer. The 2 totes have, knocked your camera over. You did. Sorry. You got 2 totes on there. They are filled each with 330 gallons of Universal Gold AR AFFF 13. What that means for you, the AR component means you've got the ability to work with polar solvents, alcohols. The 1-3, those are your proportioning rates. Chris will talk about critical application rates. These are a little bit different. Here's your proportioning rate. This is the percentage of foam concentrate in your water that you're discharging out the end of your proportioning devices. Those 2 totes are manifolded together. One of the things we suggest doing when you set this up and you're actually flowing real Class B foam is to open the valves on the front and the back tote so that you draw down the totes evenly. Not really any tactical reason for doing that. It's more of a logistics thing. If you don't use all the foam in the totes, it just makes it a lot easier to tote back to the station to get refilled rather than having all your weight in the front end or the back end of the trailer. To get foam out of here, first thing you gotta do is open up all your valves between the device you're using and your foam source. typically, real-world operation, your foam source would be right here on the trailer, those two valves on the totes. For today, your foam source is going to be the remote tote over there. What we're simulating with that is you're at an incident, you run your foam out in the trailer, we bring a second attack trailer in, a foam tender in, and that's going to now become your foam source once you run out here. We use the transfer lines that live on top of your trailer to do that. Driver's side dunnage box. A couple things in here to talk about. There are a bunch of different adapters in here. It gives you the ability to not only supply the trailer in a bunch of different ways. Obviously, we can supply it with dual 3-inch lines, a 5-inch line, 4-inch supply lines. We also have adapters in here to supply the different devices that live on the trailer in various ways. When you start doing your friction loss calculations for this, it's the same stuff you do on a house fire. The same friction loss per 100 feet that you would do for straight water would apply to your foam solution. Even at 6% proportioning rate, which is the max you're going to be able to do on this trailer, you're still talking 94% water. So we've got the ability in here to supply things like the blitz fire that live on here. We've got a low pressure blitz fire that lives on here. The adapters in here allow you to supply that with up to a 5-inch line. The only reason for that is it allows you to extend that operation out further away from the trailer. If you think about where this shit's likely to happen, it's not, well, I say it's not, the big incident is not going to happen right in a nice, well-hydrated area where you've got easy access. Shaper tubes on there, there's one for the blitz fire and there's also one for the low-pressure handline nozzle that we have on the trailer. Low-pressure handline nozzle operates 75 PSI. And again, the reason for that, just like the low pressure setting on the blitz fire, is it just allows you a little bit more friction loss to play with for your stretch. Transfer pump. Transfer pump runs off of 110 power. There is no generator on this trailer. If you have to put that into play, you guys have to supply the generator. It runs at 23.5 gallons a minute. The goal of that is not necessarily to keep up with your operations. It's to replenish the tanks in any type of downtime. If you're thinking like you're using the blitz or the master stream 1,000 gallons a minute, 3%, you're moving 30 gallons a minute of foam concentrate. So obviously that 23.5 gallons a minute isn't going to keep up with it. What that will do, we've tested it. That will run maintain 23.5 gallons a minute over 500 feet on flat ground if you've got the hose to connect it. So you can stretch things out a little bit. Remote control there on the top of the dunnage box, identical to the one on the back of the monitor. Same 6 buttons work, up, down, left, right, oscillate, and park. Binder in this box here. It's got setup instructions, it's got from the initial foam class, it's got the PowerPoints in there, it's got the SDS sheets for the foam. Pete brings up a good point, you're at an incident, you've got a lot of other shit going on, you run through your numbers quick, give us a call, say, hey, this is what I got, just check my numbers. And it's just kind of a verification of what you've already done. By someone who's not there staring at a bunch of shit that's on fire and trying to figure out water and truck placement, trailer placement, all that other shit that you're going to be trying to figure
out. Dan used a term called critical application rate. How much foam that we need to apply to the incident to make sure that fire goes out, everything's cool, and it's not going to reignite on its own. We use the following calculation, which is square footage times that application rate get me gallons per minute foam solution. And we're going to pick apart each one of these pieces. I remember from last year, most of you guys should have seen this part, but the first one is, how do we figure out square footage?
Length times width.
Length times width. Here's my incident. We'll call it a very perfect 100 by 100. Math should be a little bit easier on this one. This is the part where calculators come in handy. If not, 10,000 square feet. Next is the application rate, and I get that from one of two places. The first one is the manufacturer of the foam product, and they give it to us after testing. Okay, they say that their product, you apply it at the specific rate for a specific period of time, and your fire will go out. In the absence thereof, we're going to use an NFPA guidance that says, if I have a hydrocarbon, I use an application of 0.1 gallons per minute per square foot. 0.1 for a hydrocarbon. 0.2 for a polar solvent, an ethanol, an alcohol, okay, for polar solvents. 0.3 for a tank. And because this is being recorded, I know that Troy from Williams Fire and Hazard Control will probably correct me on that. Most industry industry teams are using about 0.25 for tank farms. That is for tanks down at like the Port of Albany. 0.24 and 0.25, and it depends on what the product is, okay? And the foam that they're using. For the first one, we're going to say that our product is methanol. Based on the application rates using the NFPA guidance, I've got 10,000 square foot of a spill fire, very specific. Product is on the ground and on fire. Spill is past tense, meaning that there is no more leak occurring. Leak is present tense. Leak is making my problem bigger, okay? So I have to control all my leaks or it's gonna throw off my math. NFPA gives us an overcalculation, but I wanna make sure I have enough foam, water to deal with that emergency on hand before I ever start fighting. So I have methanol and it is a spill fire. What would my application rate be?
2%.
0.2, so 10,000 times 0.2.
200.
2,000. Close. 2,000 gallons per minute of foam solution. Okay? 2,000 gallons per minute of foam solution. We're going to pick that apart. Based on the amount of flow that I'm required for that's required for that incident, how many trailers do I need? At least 2. Okay? I may need more based on the foam consumption, but right now I need at least 2. Why?
So you can only flow 1,000 gallons a minute out of that monitor.
Okay, so can I get more out of the trailer though?
I guess so.
Yeah, because I could
You're not gonna get another 1,000 on it, are you?
probably not, depending on the nozzle that I have on there. I'm not going to get up to 2,000. You might get up to maximum right now, somewhere around 1,450, right? Because I have a 1,000 gallon per minute monitor, I have a 350 gallon per minute blitz fire, and I have a 95 gallon per minute single eductor. So I'm going to get close to 1,450 gallons per minute. Right? So a second trailer would be a good idea to get coming. You guys are in a trailer-rich environment. When we go to Utica, they have one trailer. Their next closest trailer, Syracuse or Amsterdam. You go to Essex County or Clinton County, they have 2 trailers up there. They're lucky, right? But in Albany, we have Clinton Heights, they have a trailer. Selkirk's got 2. We have 2, plus another 4,000 gallons sitting on a tractor trailer ready to go, plus another 600 gallons sitting on a landscape trailer ready to go. So you have more foam here in this region than anybody else does, okay? So for you to ask for another trailer, not a problem, okay? So 2,000 gallons per minute of foam solution is what we're going for. Most of that is going to be water, okay? And NFPA tells us and the manufacturer will tell us that if we apply for 15 minutes, our fire should go out, everything should be sufficiently cooled, and we'll have a foam blanket that we'll be able to maintain. Okay? So 15 times 2,000, 30,000 gallons of water. This is purely for foam application. This does not include any cooling water, because if I put bubbles onto a hot metal surface, they're not going to last very long. So I always have to cool my exposures, cool all my metal surfaces before I start applying foam. This is purely for the foam application. 30,000 gallons worth of water. In the city of Albany, it's easy to maintain 30,000 gallons of water all day. If I asked for 30,000 gallons of water at the Port of Albany, how would you do it? The boat, what's the boat capable of? Anybody know? It's about 2,000 gallons a minute, I believe that's what it's rated for, okay? So when we start talking about numbers is, can we achieve those numbers? And it's specific. If I did this incident on the highway, 787 and 990. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it? Okay, so I may need tankers. I may need portable ponds, especially if it was underneath one of the bridges where we have to protect exposures. The rest of that 30, technically, we're gonna figure out how much foam we need for this incident here. So we're gonna take 2,000 gallons per minute, and we're gonna multiply it times the proportioning rate. The proportioning is what you spin the dial to on the eductors, and it comes only from the manufacturer of the foam. This is Universal Gold 1-3. 1% for hydrocarbons, 3% for polar solids. Make sense? I have a methanol incident. I have a polar solvent. Am I using 1 or 3?
3.
3%. 2,000 times 0.03. 60 gallons per minute, you are correct, of concentrate. Times how long?
15.
15 minutes. 60 times 15.
900.
900 gallons worth of concentrate.
3 trailers.
It's a minimum of 2, but remember why you say 3.
You're not going to get all that sick. You're not going to get 360 out of the double trailer.
Okay. I will probably get the problem isn't there in the 900. The problem is that's 15 minutes worth of application. I'm going to be there all day. I'm going to wait for a cleanup contractor. I got to maintain that foam blanket. On a day like today, it's dry, it's breezy, the sun is out. It's going to beat up foam pretty quickly. I'm going to have to reapply the foam based on using a meter. Okay, when the vapors start coming up, it's time to reapply the foam because I don't want a reignition. In order to protect that for the rest of the day, I double those numbers. I need 1,800 gallons. And I need 60,000 gallons worth of water. Does that make sense? It's about resources. If I started this incident and I got through 600 gallons worth of foam and my fire hasn't gone out and I don't have a second trailer there, what happened to that first 600 gallons worth of foam? Bye-bye. Fire consumes it. I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to say this is a tank. It's 100 foot in diameter. If I put a box around that circle, that's 100 by 100, take that times 0.8. That 0.8 is going to calculate out those 4 points. And I come up with 8,000 square feet. Am I close enough? Absolutely. So we're going to go with 8,000 because it rounds out my number. It's a little bit easier to do. 8,000 square foot. What's my application rate?
Right.
So I heard a 0.3 and I heard a what's in it. Does it make a difference?
Tank, it's 3.
It's a tank. It's 0.3. So 8,000 times 0.3.
2,400. 2,400.
2,400 gallons per minute of foam solution. Okay. How many trailers?
3.
A minimum of 3, right? Okay. So how do you want to set those up? And is that going to change my math? We'll talk about why. So if I put 3 trailers out, flow 1,000, flow 1,000, flow 500, I'm flowing at 2,500 gallons per minute. Yet my calculation is for 2,400. Could I use foam more quickly than I'm supposed to? At 100 gallons a minute, it may not be noticeable, but it is consuming more foam than your incident may require. Okay? You may end up shorting your foam. For that purpose, because you're going to set it up that way with 3 trailers, I'm going to change your number and I'm going to make it 25. And I'm going to do the math the rest of the way that way. Does that make sense? Okay, so now I'm going to calculate for the 2,500 gallons per minute of foam solution. Again, most of that is water. NFPA says there's a variation in the amount of time. It's either 60, 65 minutes, depending on what the product is, for a calculation. It's a lot longer because I'm looking at a heat transfer going vertically, okay, downwards. And I've got to make sure that I've got appropriate coolant. 2,500 times 60.
150,000.
That's a lot of water. Okay, and it's a lot of resources to move that water. Huh? So that's okay, because most of it is going to be water, and you're going to see why in a second. If I calculated out the foam that I'm going to apply, it's going to be, we'll pick a product. We'll call it diesel fuel. What's my proportioning now? Huh?
So the tank can be 0.3 or 0.1 for hydrocarbon.
It's 1% for the hydrocarbon based on the foam that I'm using. This one I'm going to use 0.01 times 2,500. Give me what? Shift the decimal point over. 25 gallons per minute of foam concentrate. How long am I flowing for? The tank, we're going for 60. 25 times 60. 1,500? 1,500 gallons of concentrate. Okay? Does that make sense? Everybody still with me? I'm going to tell you those numbers are a little bit of a challenge for you guys specifically here, because your ability to access a fire on the tanks that we have, number one, they're all covered, all the tanks that you have a roof on top of them. Number two, they have a floating roof, so you have two different structures inside that you're going to have to penetrate in order to extinguish the fire. You may find that you'll use a little bit of foam and a large dry chem extinguisher to put out that fire. Okay, but if I'm looking for the resources that day, that's what I need to start thinking about. 3 trailers or more. Albany, the city of Albany's plan does include representatives, and part of that is through Global, from Williams Fire and Hazard Control. A guy named Troy they'll be sending their guys from wherever they are in the world. Okay? The last one is that we're going to do 2 more. One is going to be by math. It's to talk about an incident that occurred, and this is the type of stuff that we've been getting into. Right? We said that we've been to more industrial emergencies than we have been to flammable liquid crude oil incidents. Okay? So the building this is based on an incident in Valesgate, which is down south, the Newburgh region, and 2 of our trailers were there for that emergency. This is 100 by 100. You have fire in this area. You have a collapse that has affected this, but you still have fire underneath. You have access 1, 2, and 3. So total square footage for the building would be what? So 2,500 for the affected area,
right.
7,500 for the entire building, correct? But if you've got fire here, can you maintain it? So there is no right or wrong answer to this one, because this turns into a firematic question. How do you want to attack it on the day of the emergency? So long as you can justify it, and you're going to over-calculate for certain things. What I would like to discourage you from is over-calculating in multiple areas, because then you're going to use a hell of a lot more foam than you need. So if I started and say it's 2,500 square foot and did the rest of the calculations that way, so long as I can maintain that fire footprint, I'm okay. But I'm not sure. So maybe I do, call it 5,000 square foot or 4,000, all right? That's one way to overcalculate, increase your square footage, right? Pick a number. Where do you want to go to? Somewhere above 2,500 and somewhere less than 7,500. 5,000 square foot. Very good. We're gonna do our math based on 5,000 square foot. Perfectly okay. All right. My product is a industrial grade alcohol designed for cosmetics. Okay, and so it is an alcohol that is stored in totes that are similar to this. Most of those totes have broken or melted away, and now your product is burning. I don't want to be dismissive of the day. There was a lot of other things that happened. There were multiple maydays. There was a fatality. There were many different challenges to the day, but this is what they were dealt with. Okay, so we have 5,000 square foot. What's my application rate?
0.2.
0.2.
It's because it's out of the tank, right?
Correct. Could I go 0.3?
Treat the building as a tank.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the collapse?
So is that the second way to overcalculate that emergency? Again, I'll caution you to choose one and do it based on that. You can do both. You can do all the math based on whatever you want and say, all right, what's feasible? What do I have? I'm going to say for this one, we're going to go with 0.2. But again, I could put 0.3 on it, and there's nothing wrong with it. So 5,000 times 0.2.
Yeah, 1,000.
1,000 gallons per minute?
Yeah.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do you want to attack this? You have access 1, 2, and 3. Firematically.
You could use 3 blitz fires and not have to expose yourself. But I think
So if I use 3 blitz fires, I've got 350. Do I have enough eductors to match up to that?
just enough.
No, I've only got 1 with a trailer. Second trailer, I might get another one.
Right, but if you have 3 blitz fires, you have 3 trailers.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. So you've got 3 eductors. What does that put me for math? 350, 350, and 350?
Yeah,
1050. Does it change my math enough that I want to change my math? I would. Right? You guys are the first group that's come at that way. Others have said, I want a trailer here, and an 1 3/4 over here. Okay? There are plenty of ways to come up with 1,000 gallons a minute. Any of them are perfectly acceptable. I'm going to suggest that we continue with our 1050 gallons per minute for our math. Okay? So 1050, and what's the next is our proportioning. Our proportioning comes from the manufacturer of the foam. It's Universal Gold 1-3. It's 3%. 1050 times 0.03.
31 and a half.
Call it 32 gallons per minute of concentrate. How long do you want to flow for?
15 minutes to treat it as spill, right?
Sure, but I don't have good access to it. Could I increase my time? Right? I could say I want to bring enough resources so that I can flow for longer. When was the last time you put out a fire in 20 minutes? I know I have the right crew here, but a large-scale fire with a lot of stuff that's going on, it's hard to put out a fire in 20 minutes. So you could do the math and say, hey, I want to plan for 25 minutes. It's a third way of doing it. Okay? For today, I'm going to do 20 minutes. What I'm doing is I'm taking all my foam knowledge and using the guidance from NFPA 11, and I'm trying to tackle a firefighting emergency. Okay? 32 times 20?
640.
640 gallons of concentrate. Do I have enough with 1 trailer?
Just.
Yeah. Okay. So what they ended up doing is similar to what you guys chose, their access points were a little bit different. They put a trailer here, 500 gallons per minute. They put a trailer here, 500 gallons per minute. And they had a couple other lines run off. Okay. Very quickly, their fire went out in under 20 minutes. They used the Anakila about 300 gallons worth of foam, somewhere thereabouts, okay, to extinguish that fire. Once the fire goes out, it's a lot easier to maintain.
So what we're going to do is just talk about creating some bubbles and making a little bit of foam and everything here. We'll start with a little baby one here, it's our inch and a half one. What are we getting for a flow out of that? What's that?
95.
All right. If we forget along the lines, where can we look to find our answers? Yeah, everything's going to be written right on there. So as far as when this goes, with our reductor, the way the adductors are, as far as the settings on there, we got on the small one here for hand lines, we're going to 0.25% to 6%. Typical range we're going to look to run at is 1 and 3. As what Chris has mentioned, it's going to be dictated by the foam manufacturer and the product that we're going to be using. This one is pretty easy to set. We have on there, and it's the same with the larger one here. Is we got that plastic ball right there, and that's going to be our indicator. And all we're going to do is just line up our percentage just by turning it to where it's going to be. On the red button that we have here, this is just going to be for our flush. When we're all done for the day and we talk about a little bit of flushing, all we're going to do is we're going to flow a little water through the line, try to keep it about 50 psi, maybe a little bit less. We're going to push down on that and hold on that until basically amounts to is the water that we get coming out is running clean. If we're still seeing bubbles, means there's still foam in there. If we have a Class B foam in there, some nasty stuff, if we're going to leave it sitting there, it's going to gum everything all up, and it's going to, when we go to use it, it's not going to work. It's going to be a real tough fix to do it in the field. That. As far as our manifold, like they probably had mentioned, you can move this and put that anywhere. The cam locks, easy, just like any other cam locks. They do have a safety lock on it, so instead of trying to Brutus it and try to pull it off, if you want to move it, just make sure you push the locks. Just a little slip ring and everything that's going to go over there and on that. And part of that is when we're actually flowing a little bit, that will actually help us be able to take a look at if we start having a problem with making bubbles. Because in the end, that's what we're all trying to do, is make bubbles. As far as the adductor, what it works, we know the old Venturi effect. We're going to have water pull through there. It's going to start pulling foam through there. It's going to pull through as it goes through our little assembly. We do have to look for blockage, or if we're going to have the right pressure. When you guys get that flow and everything, we'll talk about it. We'll come back and we'll look at our gauge here, which is going to kind of give us a little bit of a go, no go. It basically tells us if there's any back pressure on the system. Doesn't really measure flow. It just says, hey, we're flowing water going through there. We'll look at that a little bit because you'll be able to hear it when the water's flowing through. You'll be able to hear the Venturi pulling a little bit. So we'll get into that just a little bit in a second. The larger one isn't any different, except for instead of going down to 0.25%, we're only going down to 0.5. Turns the same way with the same indicator ball right there, and our flush works the same. The one nice thing about this one right here, with this size, when we go to flush, we can do the whole system. It flows a little bit more water, so it allows us to be able to do that. We're going to run 200 coming into here, as by our gauge. We're losing about 70 psi when it comes to running our adductor. So based on that, with the low flow nozzle, you can get up to 300 feet with that 75 psi nozzle.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
It depends on, like anything, it depends on the hose, how old the hose is, the composition of the hose, all that shit.
The true inside diameter,
elevation changes, all that shit.
And with the 3-inch line to 2.5-inch line, it varies a little bit as far as in there. And then it's definitely for your setting on the nozzle, the TFT nozzle out there. You have your low pressure, high pressure. That definitely has an input there, but you're looking to probably go to about 200 feet with 2.5, 3 with 3-inch.
Your limiting factors are what, Pete? Just so that you're clear. The limiting factor is friction, right?
Friction
loss
loss.
To your system. So you've got 200 psi coming into your inlet. That's what the manufacturer says that the adductor will work at. You're losing 75 psi just to the device. You're losing to nozzle. You're losing to distance. You're losing to elevation. So it's a friction loss calculation. That's it. Okay.
So we could, after here, we got 130 usable, 75 in that tip right there. So now we're gotten about, so now you got how much left? We're at 200 here. We're losing 70 here. We have a 55 psi tip on there as long as it's on the low setting. That's where it leaves us a usable amount. We will flow this in a minute here. We will get these other two going first. We'll flow a little bit of water, and then just before we get this into play, we'll talk a little bit about where we want to set their nozzles and where we want to set our proportioner. Get a little bit more in detail, and as you guys set that up.